Good morning. I request all of you to be quiet sometime. First years, come forward. Come forward. Boys sitting in the last rows. Last row, come forward. First. All those who are sitting in the last row, kindly get up. The last row again, get up. Come forward. So this is going to be a formal program. I request all of you to maintain discipline. Student council members are there. They'll take care of your discipline. Kindly do not make noise. This is an official program. So kindly you understand. We know how to behave. You are students of Loyola. So I hope that you will behave well. Do not discuss, do not talk during the sessions. If we see you, you know what will happen afterwards. Student council members will take your ID cards. I'll call you to my office later. Kindly do not speak among yourselves during the program, official program. Thank you.
A very good morning to one and all present here. It is indeed a moment of great pride and reverence as we gather to celebrate the 91st birth anniversary of Sri S.R. Sankaran Garu, a visionary administrator, an uncompromising advocate of social justice, and a beacon of integrity in public service.
Today's celebration, organized by ANDHRA College in collaboration with S.R. Sankaran Memorial Trust, a humble tribute to a man whose life continues to inspire generations of civil servants, educators, change makers across India.
To invoke the blessings of Almighty and set a tone of harmony for the day, we begin this event with a prayer dance by Kiran and team.
May this performance usher in an atmosphere of peace, gratitude, and reflection as we celebrate a life of purpose and service.
విజయవాటిక వాకిట వెలసిన ఆంధ్రయోలా వందనం. తెలుగు తేజము తేజరిల్లగా అంకురించిన నీకభివందనం. విజయవాటిక వాకిట వెలసిన ఆంధ్రయోలా వందనం. తెలుగు తేజము తేజరిల్లగా అంకురించిన నీకభివందనం. అక్షరానికి అదును పెట్టగా పల్లవించిన లోయోలా అరుల కొరకు నరులనే పల్లవినాలపించే లోయోలా. విజయవాటిక వాకిట వెలసిన ఆంధ్రయోలా వందనం. తెలుగు తేజము తేజరిల్లగా అంకురించిన నీకభివందనం. వేకువకు వేకు చుక్కగా చరణానికి మార్గదర్శిగా చేతనకు అగ్రగామిగా మానవతా ప్రేమ జ్యోతిగా ఉన్నతమౌ ధర్మాలను ఉత్తమమౌ దృక్పథాలను ఉదాత్తమౌ ఆశయాలను ఉపదేశించు ఈ ధరను. ఉదాత్తమౌ ఆశయాలను ఉపదేశించు ఈ ధరను. విజయవాటిక వాకిట వెలసిన ఆంధ్రయోలా వందనం. తెలుగు తేజము తేజరిల్లగా అంకురించిన నీకభివందనం. నిదగద నిదగద నిసగ 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 పమగమ పాదనిద నీ ని 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 సా స స సా నిదగద నిదగద నిసగ నిసగ పమగమ పాదనిద నీ ని ని సా స స సా. తెలుగు జాతికి ఖ్యాతి వినీవై సకల జగతికి దీప్తి వినీవై ఎదగాలి ఎద ఎదలో ఎదగాలి దశ దశలో. అక్షరానికి మహోదయంగా వికాసానికి నవోదయంగా విజ్ఞానానికి యుగోదయంగా విశ్వశా సంకల్ప దీక్షతో తనరం తనరం రాజన్నమా శరణ్యమా తన చైతన్య స్ఫూర్తితో తన సంకల్ప దీక్షతో
Thank you, Kiran and team, for their graceful performance. Now, we take great pleasure in inviting our esteemed dignitaries onto the dais.
Now, it's my honor to invite the dignitaries. Firstly, we have Reverend Father G. Kiran Kumar, SJ, Vice Principal, 2nd UG, Andhra LOYOLA College, and Reverend Father Dr. Y.T. Prabhu, SJ, Treasurer, Andhra LOYOLA College, and D. Chakrapani Garu, retired IAS officer, and Dr. P.M. Saujanya, Assistant Regional Director, IGNOU Regional Center, Hyderabad, and Professor G. Haragopal, Visiting Professor, National Law School of Indian University, Bengaluru, and Dr. G. Narendra Kumar, retired IAS, Director General, National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Hyderabad, and our Chief Guest, Sri S.M. Vijayanand, retired IAS, former Chief Secretary, Government of Kerala. We request all to welcome them with a heart round of applause.
We now move to a movement that signifies the triumph of knowledge over ignorance, the lighting of the ceremonial lamp.
And we invite our esteemed dignitaries to move towards the ceremonial lamp and light the lamp, symbolizing enlightenment and inspiration.
To formally welcome this august gathering, may I now invite Reverend Father Dr. Y.T. Prabhu, S.J., Treasurer, ANDHRA College, to deliver the welcome address. Father, please.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Chief Guest, Sri S.M. Vijayawanada Garu, retired IAS, former Chief Secretary of Kerala, esteemed guest of honor, on the way, Dr. G. Narendra Kumar, IAS, Director General of National Institute of Rural Development, Hyderabad, Professor G. Hargopal Garu, visiting professor at NLSIU, Bangalore, and our distinguished speaker, Dr. P.M. Saujanya, Assistant Regional Director at Indira Gandhi National Open University, Hyderabad, and D. Chakrapani Garu, retired IAS officer from Andhra Pradesh who served at various key positions, and Reverend Father Vice Principal Father G. Kiran Kumar Garu, dear faculty members, students, renowned bureaucrats, members of S.R. Sankaran Memorial Trust, and all our invitees, guests and well-wishers. A warm welcome to each one of you on this special day. It is my honor and privilege as a secretary and a treasurer of the college to stand before you and open the proceedings of the 91st birth anniversary celebration of S.R. Sankaran, organized by S.R. Sankaran Memorial Trust in association with our esteemed Andhra LOYOLA College. We all know Sri S.R. Sankaran was not just an exemplary IAS officer, but a beacon of hope for the marginalized, unprivileged, widely renowned as the people's IAS officer. He dedicated his life to the poor lives, rural development, tribal welfare, and eradication of bonded labor. His unwavering integrity, simplicity, and commitment to social justice continue to inspire generations, remembering and reminding us the true public service is about uplifting the voiceless. Today, as we gather here at ANDHRA LOYOLA College, Vijayawada, we honor his legacy on what would have been on his 91st birthday, a legacy that resonates deeply with our values of education, equality, and community. We thank our Father Principal, Father S. Melchior, for his guidance and hosting this event in our campus. To our faculty, whose dedication shapes the minds of tomorrow, and the vibrant student community, your presence here today reflects the spirit of learning and service that Sankaran Sir embodied. And all our bureaucrats here, guests, friends who have joined us, your participation makes this gathering a true tribute to Sankaran Garu. Let us all come together in the spirit of remembrance and inspiration. And once again, I thank you and heartfelt welcome to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your kind words and inspiring welcome. Now, we invite Reverend Father G. Kiran Kumar, S.J., Vice Principal, 2nd UG, Andhra LOYOLA College, to bless the gathering with his words of wisdom. Father, please.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, dear staff and students, good morning. Our students are in a mood, what is happening, they don't know what is happening here. Today we are commemorating Mr. S.R. Sankaran's birth anniversary. And as Father mentioned today, he is one of the well-known IAS officers. Tanu janminchindi Tamil Nadulo, Tanjavurlo janminchi, Telugu ప్రజలకు అనేక సేవలు అందించారు. ఎలాంటి సేవలు అట్టడుగు వారికి కారంచేల్లో జరిగిన గొడవల్లో తను ఉండి అక్కడ న్యాయం జరిపించే విధముగా, బాండెడ్ లేబరర్స్కి విముక్తి కలిగించే విధముగా, నక్సల్స్ ఫాల్స్ నక్సలిజం అంటూ ఫాల్స్ ఎన్కౌంటర్ చేస్తూ చంపేస్తున్న వారిని ఆపడానికి తను ముందుండి వారిని రక్షించే విధముగా, వారితో సామరస్యముగా మాటలు జరిపి చర్చలు జరిపి వారిని కూడా సంఘంలో తీసుకుని వచ్చే విధముగా తను ముందుండి అన్ని నడిపించిన గొప్ప వ్యక్తి ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గారు. తన జన్మదిన స్మరణంను ఈరోజు చేసుకుంటూ మనము ఇక్కడ కూడి ఉన్నాం. సో వీ హ్యావ్ గ్యాదర్డ్ హియర్ in that memory of the great person who has contributed a lot to our country and especially to our states, both Telangana and Andhra. As Father mentioned in the introduction, a well-known person. He was holding great positions in the central as well as in Andhra as IAS officer, and he contributed a lot. More than his position, he was a very simple person. He was going to village, making survey and bringing awareness to the people on bonded labors, abolition of bonded labors. He also went to the villages to bring awareness. He stood by them, standing by them and fighting for them. A great man. He is a great person. He could have been there in his office, but he was one among the people. He came to the people, to the level of the people, to support them, to stand by them. That's why we are called today, dear students, as many of your aspiring political science students are here, other BBA, logistics, aviation, and art students are here. S.R. Sankaran Garu, we have a best example for us how to be a model to this country, to our nation, to our people. So what more can we contribute by inspiring, from getting inspiration from this great person? What more can we contribute to the society, to the people wherever we are? That's what today great personals are here today. They'll be addressing you, they'll be motivating you, they'll be speaking about the great contributions of Sankaran Garu, but at the same time let's listen to them, carry something today. IAS officer అనగానే ఎక్కడో పైన ఉన్నారు కాదు, ప్రజలతో ఉంటూ ప్రజల మధ్యలోనే ఉంటూ వారి కోసమే సేవలంచే విధంగా ఉండాలని మనకు ఒక ఉదాహరణ ఇచ్చారు ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గారు. సో లెట్ us be inspired by him, let us contribute to the country and do great things. So I wish all the best, and on behalf of principal is not here, principal, rector, correspondent, we wish you all the best, and once again all those people came here. Welcome to you, dear sirs and madams, to our campus, and have a pleasant stay with us. God bless you all and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your blessings.
And to grace this occasion and introduce the program, we are honored to have esteemed D. Chakrapani Garu, retired IAS, who will set the tone for our celebration. Sir, please.
ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి విచ్చేసిన ముఖ్య అతిథిగా విచ్చేసిన శ్రీ విజయానంద్ గారు, చిరకాల మిత్రులు ప్రొఫెసర్ హరగోపాల్ గారు, ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని మరొక్కసారి తన యొక్క అనుభవాలతో తన అనుభవాలను పంచుకోవడానికి వచ్చినటువంటి సౌజన్య గారు, లాయలా కళాశాల తరఫున ఉన్నటువంటి ఫాదర్ ప్రభు గారు, ఫాదర్ కిరణ్ గారు, నా ఆహ్వానం మేరకు వచ్చినటువంటి రిటైర్డ్ ప్రిన్సిపల్ సిసిఎఫ్ మల్లికార్జునరావు గారు, బిఎస్ఎస్ ప్రసాద్ గారు, ఫార్మర్ డీజీపీ మాలకొండయ్య గారు, నా చిన్ననాటి మిత్రులు శేషగిరి గారు, లక్ష్మణ్ రెడ్డి గారు, అసోసియేట్ ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆఫ్ ఆయుష్ డాక్టర్ లావణ్య గారు, అండ్ మై యంగ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్. ఈ రోజున ఈ కళాశాలలో ఈ కార్యక్రమం శంకరన్ మెమోరియల్ ట్రస్ట్ తరఫున ఏర్పాటు చేయడంలో ఒక ముఖ్య ఉద్దేశం ఏమిటంటే, మన రాష్ట్రంలో అవిభక్త ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో తర్వాత భారత ప్రభుత్వంలో త్రిపురలో అత్యంత విశిష్టమైనటువంటి సేవలు అందించి వృత్తిపరంగా ఎంతో బాధ్యతతో కార్యక్రమాలని నిర్వహించి మానవీయ కోణంలో నిరంతరం అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ని ముందుకు వెళ్ళవాలి అనే ఒక తపనతో కృషి చేసినటువంటి వ్యక్తి శ్రీ ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గారు. వారి గురించి మిత్రులు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చినటువంటి పెద్దలు మీకు వివరించడం జరుగుతుంది. వారు చేసిన కృషి గురించి కానీ వారి జీవితంలో ఎదుర్కొన్నటువంటి అనేకమైన సంఘటనలు కానీ చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది. మనిషి చేసిన కృషి ఆ వ్యక్తితో సమస్య పోకూడదు అనే ఒక ఉద్దేశంతో ఈ ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ మెమోరియల్ ట్రస్ట్ని నేను బాపట్లలో డైరెక్టర్ జనరల్ ఆఫ్ ఏపీహెచ్ఆర్డీగా ఉన్న తర్వాత ఏర్పాటు చేయడం జరిగింది. దీంట్లో నాకు నిరంతరం సహాయ సహకారాలు అందిస్తున్నటువంటి సాయిబాబా గారు, రిటైర్డ్ రీడర్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్ట్స్ అండ్ సైన్స్ కాలేజ్, వారికి కూడా నా కృతజ్ఞతలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాను. మన దేశంలో మన మధ్యనే ఎంతో కృషి చేసినటువంటి విశిష్ట వ్యక్తులు చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. కానీ వారి యొక్క కార్యక్రమాలు కృషి మనకి తెలియదు. ఆ ఉద్దేశంతో శంకరన్ గారి ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ఏర్పాటు చేసి భావి భారత పౌరులందరికీ ఇటువంటి ఒక వ్యక్తి నిరంతరం మన మధ్యనే మెలగి మనతో ఆలోచనలు పంచుకుని చివరిదాకా తన యొక్క విలువలను ఏమాత్రం పోగొట్టుకోకుండా అందరికీ ఒక కాంతిలాగా, కాంతి పుంజంలాగా ఉన్నటువంటి వ్యక్తి శ్రీ శంకరన్ గారు. అందువల్ల ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని ఈ కళాశాలలో ఏర్పాటు చేయడం జరిగింది. ఈ కార్యక్రమాల గురించినటువంటి వివరాలని మీరందరూ జాగ్రత్తగా విని వారి నుంచి స్ఫూర్తి పొందుతారని ఆశిస్తున్నాను. ఇప్పుడే మన విజయ్ కుమార్ గారు, అడ్వైజర్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్, వారు కూడా వచ్చారు. ఇటువంటి వ్యక్తులు మనకి నిరంతరం మనతో పంచుకుంటున్నటువంటి ఆలోచనలు కానీ కార్యక్రమాలు కానీ వాటిని గురించి మీరు తెలుసుకుంటారని కోరుకుంటూ ఈ కార్యక్రమం ఇంత చక్కగా ఏర్పాటు చేసినటువంటి లాయలా కళాశాల యాజమాన్యానికి మరొకసారి మా కృతజ్ఞతలతో సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to invite Grace Paul, Discipline Head, to introduce Sri S.M. Vijayanand to the gathering.
S.M. Vijayanand is a visionary leader and acclaimed 1981 batch IAS officer whose 4 decades career has profoundly shaped rural development, decentralized planning, and shaped rural development, democratic governance in India. An MA gold medalist from the University of Kerala, he roses through the civil services with distinction, spearheading Kerala's transformation, people plan campaign, and initiatives such as Kudumbamashri, which is empowered millions of women. As Chief Secretary of Kerala and later Secretary of Ministry of Panchayat Raj, Sri Vijayanand championed participatory local self-governance, most notable through the Gram Panchayat Development Plan across India. Even post-retirement, his influences extended through the leadership roles in policy, training, and social development institutions, championing sustainability, livelihoods, and grassroots democracy nationwide. His life and work exemplifies the highest ideals of public service and visionary stewardship. May I now request our honored guest, S.M. Vijayanand, to inspire us with your thoughts and words. Sir, please.
Respected Professor Hargopal, respected Saujanya Madam, Mr. Chakrabani, an old friend of mine, Reverend Fathers, dignitaries, and my dear friends. First of all, let me thank you for the invite. Coming to speak about Sankaran sir in the place of his work, in front of people who have worked with him, who know him more than I do. But it's an honor to me being called all the way from Kerala. But of course, I have a bit of trepidation. I have to talk before people who know him, probably. But I also knew him quite well. Then the second reason is Mr. Chakrabani himself called. As I told you, we have been old friends. His money. A lot of bureaucrats are corrupt. But he says that is easy to come over. Second level of temptation is the senses. Drink, women, those kind of things. That also a strong person comes out of it. The third level is power. Very few people are able to come out of it. And Sankaran sir did nothing test him. But there is a fourth level of temptation. That is, I am great. I have done this. I am a saint. That is also supposed to be a temptation. You realize that you are only doing karma. You are not a great person. So Sankaran sir, in that sense, was a saint because he realized that I am not. I am only an instrument, just an individual. And that is something. So he was a saint among civil servants. In Bible, there is something called imitation of Christ. So my advice to civil servants is imitation of S.R. Sankaran sir. I said I'll conclude with a quote, but I'm very tempted to give some personal, it's a kind of boasting, but because of my love for Sankaran sir and my adoration, I thought I should mention this. There's a person called Charles Wesley Misa. I think he was an activist in Hyderabad. I met him 2-3 times. We were in a committee. After observing me for 2 times, he came and whispered in your ear, "Sir, you remind me of S.R. Sankaran." I don't know why he said that, but that I thought was a great, great thing. Then recently I was discussing with a lawyer, a Supreme Court lawyer, who was a member of an NGO, and we discussed some issues. Then at the end of it, he said, while discussing with you, this is 6 months back, I am reminded of S.R. Sankaran, with whom I discussed FRA. But the greatest compliment ever I got in my life was given by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, my minister. I worked under him in 2012 to 14. In my annual confidential record, which now of course is public, he wrote, he's not just a word, social concern and commitment is of the highest order. That is, my social commitment and concern is of the highest order in P.S. Appu, S.R. Sankaran mold. So I thought it was a great compliment I received, which will keep motivating me for a long time. So thanks for giving this opportunity. And one request to you, there is a proposal which has been in the air that for future generations, like Gandhiji, like Einstein said of Gandhiji, they will not believe that such a person existed. So you should have a museum, not of pictures, but of what he did, his files, interpreted in a common man's language. In one place, I read him say, law and justice may differ. So again, addressing the political science students, law and justice. Justice is nowhere there. Laws are plenty. But a teacher, a great teacher of mine, taught me another thing. That is, sir, this may be new to you also, or probably would have heard of it with your vast experience. There is no time to give the background. At the end of a sensational case in England, real case, a poor boy in 115 years ago is set free from a false complaint in London by whatever is the highest court in England. So the last sentence, it's converted into a drama. The last sentence of the drama is, justice is done. Then another person says, no, right is done. What is the difference between justice and right? My professor took a 2-hour lecture on the difference between justice and right. Justice is according to the law of the land. Right is what Sankaran sir would say, the eternal moral right. My teacher didn't stop there. She said that society is civilized, where the gap between justice and the right is minimal. So those of you try to bring justice closer to right. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for that powerful and deeply insightful address.
Now, I would like to call Shraddha, Club Head of Magic Youth, to introduce and invite Professor G. Harigopal to the gathering.
A very pleasant morning, everyone, respected dignitaries, guests, and all my dear friends. I am Shraddha Mikilneni, Club Head of Magic Youth, and it is my utmost privilege to introduce our distinguished guest of honor, Professor G. Harigopal. Professor G. Harigopal is a distinguished scholar, human rights advocate, and one of India's foremost voices in political science and social activism. Former professor and dean at University of Hyderabad, he founded the Center for Human Rights, shaping generations of scholars committed to justice and equality. His illustrious academic journey spans institutions such as Delhi University, the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Uppasala University, with lectures delivered at Oxford, Cornell, and London universities. As a participant in the United Nations World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna and a delegate to international human rights programs in Canada, Professor Harigopal has contributed meaningfully to global discourses on equity and civil liberties. A prolific author of several books and over 60 research papers, his work on human rights, democracy, and the agrarian crisis has profoundly influenced contemporary policy and thought. For more than 4 decades, he has been a steadfast figure in India's civil rights movement, mediating major conflicts and championing peace and constitutional governance. Currently serving as visiting professor at the National Law School of India University and chairman of Kishore Bharati, Professor Harigopal continues to inspire generations through his intellectual integrity, social commitment, and unflinching dedication to human dignity. It is our privilege to invite Professor G. Harigopal, a distinguished guest of honor, to deliver the address and share valuable insights.
A distinguished person sitting on the dais and friends. Why Sankaran Memorial Trust has come to LOYOLA Academy? There is a purpose in coming to meet all of you, interact. I understand some of you are also aspirants for civil service. Those who are aspiring to join civil service, I am personally of the view, and I keep on advising my own students not to appear for civil service, because the context has changed so much that when you join the civil service, whether you will be able to play the role that Constitution of India mandates a civil servant, because Constitution protects the civil services, hoping that they would play a role that Constitution mandated. So if you are aspiring, then you should be, we are now introducing a legendary IAS officer who made a difference, to the society, wherever he worked, with whomever he interacted. Now, how was it possible for Sankaran to make such a difference? I had the privilege of working with him for about 10 years in the peace talks between Naxals and government of the then Andhra Pradesh. We started the whole thing in 1996, and the whole thing, of course, ended up by 2006. Talks succeeded in a way, talks failed in a way, but that revolutionary groups and government and the Indian state can sit together and talk to each other is one of those rare examples that will go on, that will last for a long time to come. That rebels who are challenging the Indian state come to meet Indian state. Indian state, which was almost confronting and almost Manmohan Singh said that is the greatest security threat to India. Now, of course, the present government says they will finish by March, end of March this year. Now, how was it possible? And I think already it has been told, Sankaran and some of the civil servants, one of our friends, Vijay Kumar Garu, is sitting here. They were kidnapped by Naxalites. Of course, Naxalites had their own demand, and Sankaran, the way he tried to negotiate, that kidnap period, he had some interesting experiences. He also had very anxious moments of life. I think all of them had certain anxious moments. Now, those who kidnapped him and his colleagues were the exactly people whom Sankaran wanted to meet. And we met them 3-4 times, convincing them to come for peace talks. When finally they agreed to come peace talks, we finished and they agreed, and we were to come back and inform the Chief Minister. They gave a gun salute to Sankaran. When we were leaving, they had their own squad, and they gave a gun salute to Sankaran. And when Sankaran passed away, Indian state, of course, had given him a gun salute. Indian state and the rebels who are challenging Indian state, both of them respected Sankaran in the same manner. How was it possible? A civil servant being respected by the groups which are differing with the system so radically. Now, I think Saujanya, who has done PhD on Sankaran, when the Naxals came for peace talks, she asked them a simple question. After all, Sankaran was a part of the state. Why do you have such a great respect for him? Then the leader of the Naxal said, his simplicity. His simplicity. And when they were here for 4 days, the only house they visited was Sankaran's house. They were very keen to go to his house and pay their respect to him. And Sankaran doesn't have any facilities in his house. He can't even give a cup of tea because there were 30 people. And Sankaran said, I have nothing to offer. They said, no sir, we just came to see you and pay our respect to you. See, these rare qualities of a human being who commanded respect by two opposite groups is something unique of a human being. How was it possible? Where from does that power come? After all, in the administration, several administrators are there. You derive your power from the formal position that you occupy. The collector has a power. As a vice, by virtue of collector, he has some power. Chief secretary has power. Several officers have power. Power is derived from the law. But some human beings derive power from the moral authority. Where from moral authority comes? That's what exactly I want to communicate to you. That moral power of a human being lies in the fact that they stand for certain values, certain civilizational values which previous generations have given to us. Stand those values. Most of us may say that we have some values in life. But practicing those values in everyday life, in every minute, is something extremely difficult. And Sankaran, I Work with him 10 years, whenever you see him, whenever you meet him, he would talk of principles and values. His entire conversation used to revolve around values. And you ask him that, see, any incident, anything, he would go revolve around the values. And whatever understanding I have of Sankaran is that Constitution of India, which is a product of a freedom struggle and sacrifices of several people. Since the Constitution was written in the background of the freedom struggle, the values that Gandhi and the rest of the people upheld during the freedom struggle, they got incorporated in the Constitution of India. If you look at preamble or you look at directive, the Constitution of India is not only a legal document, it's also a philosophical document. Unlike many other constitutions, it's a philosophical document. It has a philosophy. And if you look at Indian Constitution, if you look at Article 38, 39, go back to the library and read the pickup Constitution and see what is Article 38, Article 39. Article 38 is reducing inequalities in income, opportunities, status and facilities. అంటే ఏమిటి? రాజ్యాంగం ఏం చెప్తుందంటే మనుషుల మధ్య నుండి అన్ని రకాల అసమానతలు, అంతస్తుల్లో, అధికారంలో, అవకాశంలో, ఆదాయాల్లో ఉండేటువంటి అసమానతలు ఏవైతున్నాయో మనుషుల మధ్యన వాటిని స్వతంత్ర భారతదేశంలో తగ్గించాలి. ఎందుకంటే అసమానత మానవుడి క్రియేషన్. ఇట్స్ ఎ హ్యూమన్ క్రియేషన్, therefore human being can overcome it. It's not nature's creation. Although what Baba Sahib Ambedkar says, equality is not mathematical equality. అందరూ ఒకటే ఎత్తు, అందరూ ఒకటే అట్లా ఉండదు. It's not a mathematical equality. But equality of opportunity, that is within our hands. So therefore, equality of opportunity to each human being to rise and to realize his full potential, what human being is capable of. కనుక రాజ్యాంగం ఏం చెప్తుంది? అన్ని రకాల అసమానతలను తగ్గించాలి. ఆర్టికల్ 39 ఏమంటుందంటే సంపద ఎవరి చేతిలో కూడా కేంద్రీకృతం కాకుండా సంపద సర్వ ప్రయోజనానికి పనికి రావాలి. వెల్త్ షుడ్ నాట్ బి డెట్రిమెంటల్ టు ది కామన్ గుడ్. సంపద సమాజానికి హానికరంగా మారకూడదు. దిస్ ఫిలాసఫీ ఆఫ్ ది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, ద సమానత్వ భావన, స్వేచ్ఛా భావన, న్యాయ భావన, these values have come to us from generations and generations. These values are not product of one day. These values have come from Socrates, from Spartacus, from several scientists, great scientists sacrificing their life for certain values. They gave us a civilizational value. Now, succeeding generations, every generation has to carry those values in enriching human civilization, and ultimately we reach a human society where human beings can live happily, where human beings can equally, where human beings love each other, where human beings respect each other. Still, it's not possible now. We are now living in a society of utter hatred. Hatred is being fanned. Recently, I went in Hyderabad to a very prestigious school, high school. And I gave a lecture on preamble, and the preamble kuda anni vilvalu kaadu, liberty, equality, fraternity. What liberty is, what equality, what fraternity. I was trying to explain. After I gave my lecture, one of the students, young student, got up and asked me, "Sir, you spoke about liberty. మీరు స్వేచ్ఛ గురించి మాట్లాడారు, సమానత్వాన్ని గురించి మాట్లాడారు. దెన్ యు ఆర్ ఆల్సో టాక్ సౌభ్రాతృత్వాన్ని గురించి చెప్పారు, మనుషులను ప్రేమించాలంటున్నారు. నాకు స్వేచ్ఛ అంటే మనుషులను ద్వేషించడం కూడా స్వేచ్ఛలో భాగమే. Hating human beings also a part of freedom. Why do you say loving involves freedom? Freedom means what? See, in other words, that young boy thinking that hating human beings is a part of a value system and is a part of liberty is the today's trend. It's very unfortunate, very frightening also. That's why when you go back, what were the value? Why we remember some great human beings? Why we remember Sankaran? We remember Sankaran because the values that were given, they tried to enrich, advance and preserve. We don't remember every human being. Human being memory lasts for some time and it fades away. Sankaran, after 13, 14 years with 200 boys and girls sitting here, and we are talking about a person who died in 2009, 2010. Why? Why are we talking about him? We are talking about him because he was the one who stood values, spoke, wrote, and practiced. That's why when I wrote an article, I said it's the fragrance of the human being. అంటే మనిషిలో ఉండేటువంటి మానవత్వము, మనిషిలో ఉండేటువంటి కంపాషన్. ఆఫ్టర్ ఆల్ లైలా అకాడమీ, if Jesus was to be our inspiration, Jesus stood for compassion, concern for the people. Whatever torture he suffered because he thought that that suffering will ultimately lead to a better human society, better human beings. Sankaran, as a human being, not only as an administrator, as one holding power, but as a human being, one should meet him to feel, such people also are there. Such human beings also are there. Simple, very informal, very friendly with whomever he is, irrespective of the person meeting him. And it's talking to him, discussing with him was a great pleasure. Great pleasure. I can't go on giving because there are others to present. But some of the conversations which we had, in the process, ఆయన శాలరీ, ఆయనకు రెగ్యులర్ వచ్చే శాలరీ, ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్ వచ్చే శాలరీ ఉంటుంది కదా, పేదవాళ్ళకు పంచేవాడు. ఆయనకు లిమిట్ ఫ్యామిలీ లేదు, సింపుల్ నీడ్స్ ఆఫ్ హిమ్. సో దేర్ ఫోర్ హీ వుడ్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్. బట్ టెల్ దెమ్ that government has kept money with me to give to you when you are in trouble. But he never told that this is his money. నేను అడిగాను, ఎందుకు సార్ మీ డబ్బులే ఇచ్చారు కదా? You know what he said? Poverty is already a burden to the poor people. పేదరికమే ఒక బరువు. కృతజ్ఞత అంటే gratitude is an additional burden. Life long he has to go on. Sankaran garu వాళ్ళు వచ్చి మాకు హెల్ప్ చేశారు, Sankaran garu మాకు డబ్బులు ఇచ్చారు. He said this memory is an additional burden, sensitivity of a very high kind. అంటే మనిషి తనకు ఇంకో మనిషికి కృతజ్ఞుడిగా ఉండడం అంటే ఏదో ఒక బర్డన్ ఆన్ హ్యూమన్ బీయింగ్. వారు పలానా వాళ్ళు హెల్ప్ చేశారు, పలానా హెల్ప్ చేశారు. He didn't want even that. Then of course, his way of working, his way of drafting, he is an extremely competent man. Because our entire 3 documents on peace talk, he drafted. Of course, I was continuously with him helping. But he typed on the computer, he composed all the 3 documents. For hours together, he did it like a professional. His drafting, his English, his knowledge of rules and regulations, extremely competent. That also gives power. Your understanding of rules and recalling rule through your memory gives power. This is the legal power, or what I may say, the power of the law, power of the rules. But when you are combining formal authority, vested in, by the virtue of your authority, is combined by moral power. Moral power is personal, moral power is practice, moral power is upholding values. You see the difference. When you combine rational authority with a moral authority, that produces Sankaran. Because he is using his power not, violating any law, at the same time building his moral power. And in the process, today we remember him partly for his role that he played, but largely because he was a moral being. And particularly the context in which we are living, I am frightened. I really feel what will happen to your generation. Our generation lucky. I can say myself lucky. 55 years I taught, my classroom was never constrained. I taught whatever I thought must be taught. I passed on knowledge, whatever I thought should be done. But today classroom is constrained. What you speak, what you talk in the classroom. Things are really changing. And your generation has to face a very difficult situation. But you can negotiate with the world, right? You can negotiate with the world if you also have certain personal values in your life. Many people ask me, you work in civil liberties movement, you work in Save Education Committee, you work in that and all that. What is that you have achieved? I have not achieved anything, but I remained a human being. that human touch still remain inside me. If to even human being you have to do something. Otherwise we are living in a world of dehumanization. World is getting very fast dehumanization. See the murders, see the mothers killing children, wife killing husband, husband killing wife. Every day you see the paper, very depressing. What is happening? Because the collapse of values, collapse of a civilization. At such a time, we remember Sankaran. That means for human being, it is possible to live a moral life, to live certain life of a high standards, and live by those values. We remember. That means it's not possible for us. Whenever somebody used to say, sir, you are a great officer, Sankaran used to say, I have done what any ordinary man can do. That's why when he was given Padma Bhushan, I was an eyewitness. I was an eyewitness because I was sitting with him, were drafting. But that day he looked a little different. And suddenly phone after phone started coming and somebody rang me up, said, congratulations Sankaran. I said, why? Because he got Padma Bhushan. I said, sir, I believe you got Padma Bhushan, you didn't tell me. He said, no, ministry rang me up, but I said, no. I thought they wouldn't announce, but they have announced me. I have already declined, but they have announced. It was very embarrassing. 20 cameras arrived. And Sankaran didn't know. So he went with a folded hand, he said, I have no reason why I declined. I felt like not accepting it. He gave some excuse, please, no, don't trouble me. Please don't trouble me. And he sent the media. But the telephone calls were continuous. Then he told me, look, now we can't work here, nor I will be given rest. Let's go to your home. Ma inti kochadu. There till 12 o'clock he stayed. We were discussing. Then he said, telephones must have stopped. Then he has gone back. That recognition, many of us enjoy recognition. But even that recognition for him he was so modest. Declining Padma Bhushan, which is considered as one of the precious awards of the country. There are very few people who have done that. Sankaran belongs to that category. The reason being, he said, if I accept Padma Bhushan, future IAS officer may think that since he has done extraordinary work he got, he says that people should remember any officer can do this. This was his hope. So that is how Sankaran's life is with this entire complexity, whatever is there. He negotiated with the system. Ministers were convinced. He used to convince the ministers. And even if I had a trouble, he knew how to handle. Now, the entire process of Sankaran's life symbolizes the moral authority of a human being, moral power of a human being, and also a formal position that one occupies, what one can do within that formal position, deriving this moral and formal power from the Constitution of India, values from Constitution of India, power from the law of Constitution, legal power, moral power. And therefore, friends, we have come to tell you that here was a person who lived for values, because ultimately human society remembers those who stood for highest values. Rest of us will be forgotten. No generation remembers most of us. We would have been forgotten. But generation after generation remembers some human beings, whether they are scientists, whether they are Socrates or whoever is that, because they stood for such high values that all of us have to emulate for those values. ఆ విలువలు ఏవైతున్నాయో జీవితం అంతా మనం ఆ విలువల కొరకు స్ట్రగుల్ చేయవలసింది. హ్యూమనైజింగ్ ది వరల్డ్ ఈజ్ ది మెసేజ్. హ్యూమనైజ్ ది వరల్డ్. Remain human being. Remain morally sensitive. That is the message of life of this a very outstanding person. So I think I was about to end, then already there is a message. But we thank Lyra Academy and its leadership to invite us to come and interact with you. Thank you all, boys and girls. Thank you very much for coming and.
Thank you, Professor, for that enlightening and thoughtful provoking address.
Finally, I would like to call upon Bhuvaneshwari, Fine Arts Head, to introduce and invite Dr. P.M. Saujanya to the gathering.
Good morning. Good morning to respected dignitaries, teachers, and all my dear friends. I am D. Bhuvaneshwari, Fine Arts Head. Now I am privileged to introduce Dr. P. M. Saujanya. Dr. P. M. Saujanya is a distinguished academic and administrator whose exemplary career reflects to steadfast commitment to educational excellence and equity. Currently serving as Assistant Regional Director, Selection Grade at Indira Gandhi National Open University, Regional Center, Hyderabad. She has been a pivotal force in advancing open and distance learning across India, a gold medalist in political science from the University of Mysore. Dr. Saujanya holds an MPhil and PhD from the University of Hyderabad, complemented by a postgraduate diploma in distance education from Indira Gandhi National Open University. Since joining Indira Gandhi National Open University in 2006, she has contributed significantly to student support, academic administrator, and outreach through her service across multiple regional centers, Panaji, Vijayawada, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. A scholar deeply engaged in social and cultural discourse, she has presented papers on caste, social justice, and cultural heritage and national and international forums, exemplifying her intellectual depth and social sensitivity. Dr. Sauzanya's journey stands as an inspiring embodiment of academic leadership, administrative dedication, and advocacy for inclusive education. It's time to hear from the person we have all been eagerly waiting for. Let us welcome Dr. P. M. Saujanya to share their message with us. Thank you. Welcome.
My greetings to all of you. My special thanks to those who have given me this opportunity to share my experience and the works of S.R. Sankaran. I have already been instructed to talk in short, and I want to avoid the repetition because it's always a disadvantage to speak in the last. Anyway, I thank all of them who have shown this is just a concern and the respect that they have for Sankaran and Sankaran's work. And friends, I was one of the students who had worked on Sankaran's work for my doctoral degree under Professor Hargopal. And I am ever indebted to him for conceiving upon this idea to work on a PhD doctoral degree on the theory and practices that was brought in bureaucracy. And to start and to end is a very Herculean task. It should actually be easy for me, for I spent more than 5 years working on his works, for which he spent 35 years of his life working for the poor and the constituency of the poor. And his work is directly associated with the poor and the policies that he worked out that still remains in effect. But it is always wrought with overlay of sorrow and underpinning of the abundance. And 5 years was not sufficient for me, but I wish to cover up here and there that thing that was still to be filled up. I started to understand his work from his independent position as a collector of Nellore district, and his superannuation as Secretary, Ministry of Rural Development. Throughout all this, I find some interesting things. I wish to talk on this using a lot of dotted anecdotes because most of them have covered what I thought I should be speaking, and this talk gets altered. This is not just something to give a sermon or like that. It is something of a learning, a message for the youths over here, that it is worth emulating. If not emulating, at least to strive to that extent. This is a model. This is a model in bureaucracy that we have developed, and it is an indigenous model. and thrown by indigenous context, domestic context and culture. So there are few concepts, traits of Sankaran that made him to be outstanding or to remain as a model in the Indian bureaucracy. So many theories are there in the bureaucracy and the bureaucratic model. This is one emerging theory or the emerging model in Indian bureaucracy that is associated with this trait, which is the quality of his moralness, that is the morality that he exhibited, and humanizing power. Now, power is the ability to influence things in spite of resistance. So there was resistance for his work also, but he influenced the things because he had unimaginable, unmatchable conviction and commitment. For this, he could humanize power and shape power as he grew higher and higher in the authority, that he was humanizing power. So in Nellore district, when I was surveying, he was called as a poor man's collector. And his massive work was visiting redistribution of land, and building assets wherever possible. See, Sankaran joined the IAS with the hope that this is a noble portal to work for the poor. And he belongs to the tradition of those IAS officers who considered government office as something to do with the governance of the poor. So when I met one of the MLAs of that, because Anams and Vijayawadas are very powerful in Nellore district. So he was ex-MLA, Anam Vivekanand. So he told me, you go to this place and you will find a lot of information, and that colony itself is named as Sankaran Colony. In this way, he also grew somewhat popular with the structure also, because structure also needed him, state also needed him. And throughout his tenure, he stayed, he never wavered. Whether it was the nature of the state was repressive, responsive, or reactionary, Sankaran's style did not change. In Nellore district, when he started distribution of land, the Savai Jameen land, he always felt that there is a need for alteration of power within the rural area. And so he thought that land and ownership of land will alter the power structure. And when he started doing that, he gets a message, call, and also a warning from Brahmanand Reddy, then Chief Minister, you should slow pedal the cause of land distribution. But Sankaran, as usual, he never took heed or never formed anything according to the convenience of the politicians. And he started to do that, and one day he was transferred. And there was a huge crowd feeling sorry for his transfer. So again, he was moved as secretary, coal mines. There also he impressed the Minister of Coal Mines, and he brought the nationalization of coal mines. He written 300 pages as a justification of why the coal mines should be nationalized and how it is under the private sector. What are the inhuman practices? Throughout, his concern was for human beings and working for the constituency of the poor. Whatever may be the position, whatever may be the portfolio that he enjoyed, he always saw there is a space that can be located, a democratic space that can be located and identified for the cause of the poor. And as former Chief Secretary Kerala and everybody, it is very popular, the Channa Reddy incident, that when he started to work for the cause of the bonded labor, when he came as a Secretary Social Welfare, Andhra Pradesh, he belongs to the AP cadre, and he started to work for the bonded labor abolition because that was an ordinance of 1976, and he took it very seriously. And in one village in Medak district called Budmatpalli, he found that this weak, poorly clad man moving there. And he called and inquired. Then he said, "Veeru Kulina Jeetama." So he said, "Nenu jeetam chestunnanu." Then he made him sit and the other collectors along with him and inquired. And he found that this person was working for one landlord as a bonded labor. So through him, he identified all the bonded laborers and started to rehabilitate them. And few from Rangareddy, Sangareddy district who are bonded laborers for Chief Minister Channareddy himself. And he started to release. This brought lot of anger in Channareddy and told, "I don't want you in my government." And he said he threw the file. So there's a long story, I'm cutting it short. He said, "I don't want to work for you." And I said, "Who are you?" He asked, "Who are you to draft these policies?" He said, "I am secretary to government of Andhra Pradesh." So Channareddy said, "I don't want you in my government." He said, "I don't want to work for you." And he left the office without having a job won. This shows that he placed the cause of the poor, the tribals, the marginalized above his own cause. He was not a career bureaucrat. He never looked for something else big. He always wanted to work in the rural development and the social welfare component part, social welfare departments. He developed and designed so many programs. And even as a principal secretary in 1985, he came back, that very unfamous incident of Karamchedu. This brought him to bring about a special component plan for the tribals and the abolition of atrocities, Prevention of Atrocity Act, 1989. And this all credit goes to Sankaran. And he never tried to see that he wanted to go along with the political agendas, but he wanted to maintain the constitutional mandate and said, "This is the mandate of the nation, and this is the mandate that all the officers should go in." And he used the law as a tool to prevent, to protect the atrocities or the kind of acts for the Dalits and the tribals. When I just wanted to share two things, that an exemplary simplicity of Sankaran and the administrative excellence, because I have seen all his notings, the way he has reviewed the things, meetings, etc. So once when he was to go to report as a chief secretary to Tripura, and this is very popular in the state of Tripura. I stayed there for 50 days to study his style of functioning, his other things, etc. So he got down the flight, the early morning 9 o'clock flight from Kolkata to Agartala. The protocol, chief secretary protocol, was waiting there to receive Sankaran. And chief secretary ante etla untaru, with all that grandiose loud dressing and all. His dressing was never loud at all, one crumpled pant and one small shirt. And as soon as the flight got halted, he took one rickshaw with a heavy accent, Hindi he spoke, and told that he be dropped at the circuit house. So these people had no guts to ask whether if he was the chief secretary. And they were running, all hell broke out. "Where is the chief secretary? The flight has arrived and still we are not able to locate the chief secretary." And he took his rickshaw and put his small briefcase and started. Then somebody took the courage from the protocol stream and asked whether if you are the chief secretary. Yeah, I am Sankaran. So he said, "Sir, we are waiting for you in the vehicle is waiting for you, please come." He said, "No, it's okay, I have already got it." No, you have to come down. And they asked, "Where is your luggage? Where is your luggage?" "This is my suitcase. This is my luggage. This is..." For all 5 years in Tripura, he stayed with that small briefcase. And before that, he was paying the rickshawala the amount. Then they told, no, don't pay. "No, I have to pay." Then he explained like this. This was the flight that the customers, the passengers come, and the rickshawala would get some money out of it. And I stopped to go in that rickshaw. He is at a loss of the fare. So I have to pay that. And he paid and got into the, and after that is a very big interesting story. And he toured so intensively And Tripura is like one of the districts of Andhra Pradesh. And he knew every tribe over there. Every tribe over there he knew. And there are 19 tribals over there, different tribals, and he knew everyone, their profession, their work, etc. Once when he was traveling to South Tripura, one family, the district collector told that, Sukumar Oman, he told that today Chief Secretary is visiting this part. If anybody have any grievances, you can please come to the collector's office. Then this mother of 7 children wanted to meet Sankaran because they got to know what he is. And she had 7 children, and of that, the 3rd son was very good at his studies. And he finished his graduation in Tripura itself, and she told, this is my case. I want to send my son for higher education, but we couldn't afford. So he immediately took all the details of this son. His name is John Tangaturi Darlong. He belongs to the Darlong community, which is still backward tribe. And he sent him to, with one of his friends who was teaching in JNU. Then he sent him there and got trained. And when I was for his MA, he wrote a civils. He cleared the Indian Foreign Service. When I was in 2004, when I was in Tripura, John Tangaturi Darlong was serving as a foreign secretary in Panama. See, this kind of a great work is recognized by the people of Tripura. And in 1979 to 80, there was one incident that took place in Tripura, in West Tripura, called Mandai. That was the massacre of the tribals by the Bengalis, and the tribals also attacked the Bengalis, and the whole district was ruined. So Sankaran had very good name at the, in his own groups. They sent funds to construct that district called Mandai. So the people of Mandai, it's called New Mandai. So they wanted to name it as Sankaran Nagar because it became best than what it was earlier. Number of markets came up, number of fisheries, number of plantations, etc., etc. in that. It became better and better than what it was earlier before the massacre. So he said, no, nothing. It is our responsibility, it is our duty to reconstruct the lost thing. And once when Hanumantrao was a member of the planning commission, he visited this place, and he visited Tripura for some government work. Then Sankaran told, you should visit Mandai now and report back to me with your remarks. So Hanumantrao was stunned to see this place because he was also there in the committee of fact-finding when that massacre happened. So this kind of intense work for the construction development of the tribals, widening the horizon of the developmental agenda of the people of Tripura was what Sankaran strived. And there's one more thing that I want to share. I'll just take another 5-10 minutes. During this massacre, during this communal rights, there is one tribals called Jamatia tribals. You know, tribals are very attached to their deities. That deity was stolen. It's made of gold. So somebody had stolen that. And somebody has all ransacked, done all that hangama on that thing. So people were very agitated. And they went and told the chief secretary. There was nothing like gate pass, nothing. One can just enter. One can just enter and speak to him. And they told that this is being lost. We are hurt. Our sentimental is hurt. So what he did, he created a file. Look for the goddesses of Jamatias. Look for the goddesses. I still have that file. I want this generation to read those kind of files and see that what you can do in your own spaces. So number of stamps were put up by the Jamatias themselves. So they started to say, it looks like this, it looks like this, it looks like this. Just 2 minutes. Then finally it was done and given to them. So friends, when he went to MORD also, the Millions Well scheme, and so many rural development programs he developed and saw that, implemented that. Again, he revisited the bonded labor issues and saw that these all people should be liberated. Primary concern of Sankaran was this, and this never went out of fashion, whatever is the nature of the state, that human dignity, bringing the life of the people onto the primary agenda of the state and giving human dignity and preserving the life of the people. That's why he started the peace talks and also became the convener of Safaya Andolan, Karmachari Andolan. So this is the work that the bureaucrat had done, and power was something that he was trying to shape all through when he went up, when from the beginning till the end, and he lived by that, that he was keep on shaping power. Though there was resistance, he influenced power to say that this was the mandate of the state, and told Channa Reddy abolition of bonded labor is an act of the government and it has to be done. But power is used the other way, as a rational authority and as a moral authority. How you use power is two different things. So it is rewarding. Somewhere someone changes the life of the poor for better. And this younger generation, consider this as a learning, a message, if you choose to. Thank you.
Dear students, you will be given an extra time for your lunch. Another half an hour more, we will conclude. Please be patient.
Thank you, ma'am, for that powerful and deeply insightful address.
And we now invite K-NIMI Hospitality Head to introduce Dr. G. Narendra Kumar Garu to the gathering.
Dr. G. Narendra Kumar is a distinguished Indian Administrative Service Officer of 1989 AGMT batch, whose visionary leadership and over 3 decades of services have refined governance and rural transformation in India. A scholar administrator with a PhD in chemistry from Osmania University and advanced degrees from IIT Delhi and Syracuse University, he combines scientific precision with policy innovation. A Director General of the National Institution of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj since 2021. Dr. Kumar has transformed the institution into a prior hub for evidence-based policy, decentralized governance and inclusive rural development. His illustrious career spans path-breaking roles from revolutionizing e-governance and education in Delhi and Puducherry to institutionalizing performance management frameworks at national level, each marked by transformative vision and measurable outcomes. A global thinker and reformer, Dr. Kumar continues to inspire through his commitment to innovation, resilience, and equitable growth, embodying the ideal of intellect in service of impact. It's our privilege to now invite Dr. G. Narendra Kumar, our distinguished guest of honor, to deliver the address and share valuable insights. Thank you.
Distinguished speakers on the podium and distinguished guests who are seated in the front row, and my dear students. It's indeed a great privilege for me to learn more about Sri S.R. Sankaran through this event. I only had the opportunity of meeting him on a few occasions, very briefly. Those occasions were very inspiring because one of the persons who was an inspiration for me to get into the civil service unknowingly was Sri S.R. Sankaran. So when I was taking the civil service examination or embarking on a career to go for the civil services, then the question arose whether I should take the civil services examination, stay back in India, or I should go abroad and do a PhD and do well abroad in a country like USA. That was the question that was there before me. So people said that, look, what do you gain by working in the civil services, in the IAS? So someone told me that, look, the IAS is such a revered career still with people, that there are some people who worship IAS officers like a god in their houses, especially the tribal population. They frame that officer's photograph and they worship. So I said, look, it must be so. I did not know it was S.R. Sankaran, but I came to know subsequently. People worship people like S.R. Sankaran like a god, especially in the tribal populations. That was his impact on people's lives. I won't really talk about the life sketch of Sri S.R. Sankaran and what all he accomplished in his life, what have been his contributions. Enough has been said by the previous speakers. I'd like to now focus on what it all means to us. You know, S.R. Sankaran's life means to us today and for our life forward, because many students are gathered here. So what does S.R. Sankaran's life and his achievements, his work style, what does it really imply for us? So one, Soumya was mentioning that people again used to talk about S.R. Sankaran to say that, look, in the civil services, in the IAS, people say that you must be prepared for transfers. You should not really resist that transfer, because if you get rooted to a particular job, then the politicians start taking advantage of you, that look, this person is gullible, he is bound to his seat, therefore he has to, he can be squeezed, he can be twisted and turned your way. So as she was mentioning, people said that, look, here is S.R. Sankaran, who is a role model, that who moves around with 2 pairs of clothes, doesn't have anything more, doesn't ask for anything more. So if this is your lifestyle, well, you don't have to worry about transfers, you can go anywhere. So that way he was a model for various civil service officers. Live simply and think high. So simple thinking, simple living and high thinking, I think that was what he epitomized. That's something that we must emulate. Various big leaders had this in them, that simple living and high thinking, including Mahatma Gandhi. So they did not really waste their energy on high and flamboyant living, but put their energies in high thinking and achieved much through that high thinking. Then he was very purpose-driven. Advocacy for the poor, as Soumya was mentioning, he came into civil service like I did, of course maybe inspired by S.R. Sankaran or people like that, that this will enable us to serve the poor. As Mahatma Gandhi said, wipe every tear from every poor person's eyes. So that's something that this kind of a service still gives us an opportunity to do. And there I would disagree with Professor Hargopal that, look, there are troubles, travails and difficulties in the way civil service is now structured and the way we have to work in the civil service in the IAS, but still it's a great public service opportunity, an opportunity to serve the public and an opportunity to do some original work, opportunity to be the boss, to be able to lead from day one to day end. So that's an opportunity I think still civil service provides. Of course, you have to have workarounds that, look, we don't want to be failures, being stiff, being humanistic, being pro-poor, but still we have to have workarounds, we have to have a way of working with the politicians, working with special interest groups and others, still being driven, still being achievement-oriented in the interest of the poor, in the interest of the nation and taking things forward. I think that's a little deviation from the way S.R. Sankaranji lived, that we need to be successful also, in addition to be principled, in addition to be passionate. Unless we are successful, we'll be thrown to the backyards, and however competent, however passionate, however principled you may be, those principles don't find expression. Those passions do not find expressions. So we have to balance, therefore, find a balance between a principled life and a successful life. And that's where I think we need to, I'm not even for a moment hinting that we need to compromise. I never compromised in my life. In my 36 years of service, I never bowed before a politician. I never took a bribe. I never made one naya paisa of a government. Still, I'm therefore saying that, look, We have to be principled, but at the same time be successful. How to be able to meet both ends is something that we need to find a median in today's life and today's environment. The other important thing that people spoke of is Mr. Sankaran did so many things, so many things like distribution of land, abolition of bonded labor, working for the Safai Karamcharis, and abolition of the Safai Karamchari system. Why is it that only he had to do? Others really didn't think about it. He was a kind of a social entrepreneur, a social re-engineerer. He had that spirit to make a difference, to make a change in people's lives. Not be a status quoist. Change the status quo, change the state of things, move to a better life, progress in life, and take the society with us forward, take the community with us forward. That was the transformative spirit that Mr. S.R. Sankaran had. And I think whatever we may be civil servants, we may be clerks, we may be agriculturalists, if we have that spirit of transformation, of change, to do better, to make our life better, to make life of all those around us better every day and each single moment, I think we are living a good life, we are leading a transformative life, we are bringing about transformation in society. Not only this, another key lesson for us all today is that we have gathered here so many years after the passing away of Mr. S.R. Sankaran, and we are still talking about his work. He was therefore an inspiring personality. How do we make our work inspire others to be able to do better, to be able to bring about betterment in society, to be able to derive greater satisfaction from our own work, which is also equally important. We do not do work only for others, but one should be able to derive satisfaction from doing good to others. I can only reflect and say, based on whatever small things I have achieved in my life, that if one looks back to say that what did I do in life, which is I think very, very important and significant for in every individual human being's life, that when you look back and see reflectively in your own sphere, in the darkness of the night, to say that what did I really accomplish as a human being, 20 years, 30 years in your life, in your career, there must be something that you should be able to say. I did not lead an animal existence. I did not live like a pig, but like a human being, like an intellectual person. What is it that I have done? So one must be able to reflect upon it and say that these are some concrete things that I have been able to achieve in my life, which have made such and such impact, such and such changes they have been able to bring about. I don't want to now reflect on what I have accomplished, but one must have those successes behind oneself to reflect upon, to say that these are some things. They may be small, they may be big, but those changes must be transformative, must be something that you can be really be proud of in your life. That's something that I would like to suggest to you that we must take away from Sri S.R. Sankaran's life. One other key aspect in Mr. S.R. Sankaran's life is to say that, look, he provided leadership. That's very important for us. Today, in all over the world, people talk about two things. They talk about management, they talk about leadership. And a distinction between the two, that who is a manager, who is a leader, which is a traditional debate in many graduate schools abroad, in India, in management schools, and so on and so forth. So manager is basically a status quoist who is good at operations, seeing that operations get done well. A leader brings about transformation. He inspires people. He doesn't need authority. He doesn't need a formal position. So that's something which S.R. Sankaranji was. He was a true leader. He was a true leader who was able to bring about transformative change. Change when he did not have authority also, that he continued to work even after he retired. He did all his Safai Karamchari's work, abolition of the Safai Karamchari system, which led to reduction in the Safai Karamcharis and the night soil pickers from 13 lakhs to 3 lakhs during his period. Because of the influence that he wielded, writing thousands of letters, advocating the ills of that system, and so on and so forth. And as a retired civil servant, he did not have any authority. He only had moral authority. He had the energy, drive to be able to bring about transformative change and a purpose that we want to bring this change. And if one is purpose driven, one doesn't rest on laurels, one doesn't rest on achievements, one's energy doesn't dry up, the energy continues to drive you to say that, look, I need to bring about bigger transformative change, bigger change for the good of the nation, bigger change for the community, bigger satisfaction for myself. I think to be purpose driven is very, very important in life. What is the purpose of our life? Not just eating like an animal and enjoying all the things that an animal enjoys and goes away. So it's good to have a purpose-driven life and to set a purpose for oneself and realize that purpose substantially, and a purpose and a vision for life which doesn't dry up and continues to drive you to higher levels of excellence. That's something that we need to focus on. Now, coming back to the leadership, that as I was mentioning, that Sri S.R. Sankaran was a leader rather than a manager. Many of us are managers, just sailing with the system, abiding by the rules, seeing that the rules are implemented, things get done as per processes, and so on. But he was a person who challenged the status quo, who had the courage to challenge the status quo. As Soumya was mentioning, he could step up to the chief minister and say that, look, this is something that I want to do. If you do not agree with it, still I would do it. If you want me out, you can have me out. But he had the courage to say this. So one should have that courage to speak, courage to do, courage to bring about transformative changes, which is driven by that purpose. So that's, I think, another significant lesson that Sri S.R. Sankaran's life holds out for us, and we should have that courage to be able to speak out, to be able to say what is right. Of course, it's not to say that, look, you need to be curt, you need to be brash in saying that. There could be a polite way of putting what you want to put, but you have to have the courage to say what has to be said at the right moment when it has to be said. So, coming back to the leadership style of Sri S.R. Sankaran, again, in leadership, there are various theories and schools of thoughts that there are different types of leadership people talk about. So that he wields because he is in a position that he can wield that power. There are those who are positional power, who occupy a position like an IAS. Simple leader who empathized with people, and that's the kind of leadership that we call as level 5 leadership, as what we call as a servant leader driven leadership. So S.R. Sankaran really, to my mind, epitomizes a servant leadership system. How do you empathize with others? How do you, I'm not saying sympathize with others, but how do you empathize with people, their needs, and bring out the best in them? I mean, without really taking credit for what is getting done, how do you see that people get energized on their own, they deliver? How do we encourage them to deliver and allow them to take the credit rather than you taking the credit? I think that is central to the servant style of leadership, which Sri S.R. Sankaran very much epitomized by putting service before status. That one should not be status driven, but one should be service driven. One should be able to do good to people. That's what I think he epitomized. As I mentioned, he had the moral courage to speak out when necessary, moral courage to take a stand, moral courage to tread paths which others did not tread. So that moral courage is something, again, which was, I think, central to his servant leadership style. He was ethical, as we all saw that, look, he had led a simple life, he was completely honest, and that ethics which drove excellence, which led him to realize the purpose that he wanted to realize. And he was compassionate towards the marginalized, to serve a higher goal, to achieve a higher purpose. And integrity with simple living, that's again something which is a key feature of his servant leadership style. So those are, I think, a few attributes that we need to be aware of to how to be a servant leader, lead a simple life, lead a purposeful life, lead a life which is driven by through energy to be able to realize that higher purpose. That's, I think, what Mr. S.R. Sankaran's life tells us. These are the lessons which it holds out to us, and I think we should learn those lessons, because through that we'll be able to achieve much more, we'll be able to have a more fulfilling life. Now, I would like to now a little bit turn to say that, look, what is the work that we are doing in the National Institute of Rural Development on the lines indicated by Sri S.R. Sankaran. We have an S.R. Sankaran chair in the National Institute of Rural Development, and through that we take up various studies, we take up various workshops, seminars, etc. Substantially, our focus is to see that the poor, downtrodden, the disadvantaged do not lose out. Our primary, of course, we work as a government think tank, and therefore we want to see that nobody is left behind in getting the benefits of government schemes and government programs. So that's something that we try to do, to see that equity, as Professor Haragopal was mentioning, is built into the government programs to the maximum extent possible. Then we come up with various leading programs, and some of the leading programs that we have now coming up with is, and we're supporting, is a new generation of programming. A new generation of programming focused on achieving saturation. For instance, as we're discussing, Sri S.R. Sankaran focused on the eradication of the Safai Karamcharis, to see that the Safai Karamcharis do away and replaced with machines and mechanical work for cleaning the sewers and so on. But he could move from 13 lakhs to 3 lakhs. Today's paradigm of programming is focused on saturation. How do we ensure that everyone gets good quality drinking water supply? We may not be able to achieve 100%, but we have been able to be moving from 40% to, let's say, 70% or 80%, even though our quest is towards 90%. Similarly, we are running various programs called the Aspirational Blocks program, primarily focusing on developing tribal blocks of this country. And mostly they're remote blocks, but large number of these remote blocks are in tribal areas. So we're focusing on tribal development through the Aspirational Blocks program. The new generation of programming, as I was mentioning, is focusing on saturation. For instance, this is different and distinct from earlier generations of programs. Earlier generation of programs is something like, ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme. That's been running in the country from 1965. 60 years down the line, we've not been able to get rid of malnutrition. One of its primary focus was to address malnutrition among children. Instead of that, if we look at the current NFHS figures, malnutrition rates have increased rather than decreasing in spite of the program. Today's current generation of programming focuses on achieving saturation in a time-bound manner, achieving results in a time-bound manner, moving on to the next target, moving on to the next program. And that's what we're trying to do through this Aspirational Blocks program, focusing on 40 key indicators which the Government of India has identified. We focus on building capacities of various functionaries at the government level to bring about transformative change in the remote blocks, in the tribal blocks of this country, and that's how we're carrying forward Sri S.R. Sankaran's work in the National Institute of Rural Development. And we hope that Sri S.R. Sankaran will continue to inspire us to do this good work, to take the tribal areas, to take the backward areas forward, to continue to develop the poor, downtrodden, disadvantaged. And I hope all of you will join with us in this journey to take these disadvantaged sections forward and to bring about national development in a purposive way, with a purposive life for you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring reflections on inclusive governance and sustainable development.
And now it's time to reveal the book on S.R. Sankaran words, and I invite Narendra Kumar sir to reveal the book.
శంకరన్ గారి లైఫ్ మీద కొన్ని ఆర్టికల్స్ రాయబడి సంబంధించిన పుస్తకాలు మీ అందరికీ కూడా ఇవ్వబడుతుంది. ఒక చిన్న పుస్తకం ఐఏఎస్ ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యే వాళ్ళకి చాలా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, గ్రూప్స్ వాళ్ళందరికీ. దాన్ని అందరూ తీసుకుని ఖాళీ సమయంలో ఒకసారి చదవడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేయండి. we request Sir Vijay Kumar Garu to address the gathering. Just 2 minutes.
Now I would like to invite Sri Vijay Kumar Garu, Special Chief Secretary and Advisor of Government of AP, and to address the gathering.
Thank you very much. Shri Vijayanand, Dr. Hargopal, Dr. Saujanya, Shri Narendra Kumar, dear friend Shri Chakrapani, and LOYOLA management, and dear students and dignitaries. I was not informed that I should speak. It was a sudden decision. I just came here to listen, because when somebody speaks about Mr. Sankaran, then it's, memories about Mr. Sankaran get revived and one feels blessed. I'm really blessed to have worked with Sri Sankaran right from when I joined the service way back in '83. Even before we came to the state, we had heard of Mr. Sankaran in the Mussoorie Academy, especially the Bonded Labor Act, and we had the Secretary Labor. At that time, I think Mr. L.D. Mishra, who came to the academy, spoke to us about it. And just when we reached Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Sankaran had been called back from Tripura. The then Chief Minister, Shri N.T. Ramarao Garu, had heard so much about Mr. Sankaran, so he invited Mr. Sankaran back. And for a long time, Mr. Sankaran was not staying in any he hadn't found a house, so he used to stay in the Greenlands guest house. So as assistant collectors under training, we had the privilege of meeting him. And I was posted in Medak, and he had come one day to Medak along with Mr. Madhav Rao, Mr. Gopal Rao, to look at how the rehabilitation of the bonded labor was happening. And then he gave me an assignment as an assistant collector training to study the bonded labor rehabilitation in a village. I also had the privilege of him visiting me when I was sub-collector Paderu, and Mr. Vijayanand spoke about those historic decisions in '86 about tribal welfare. So he was able to motivate the Chief Minister to visit every tribal area, make a night halt there. So almost a month, the Chief Minister went to every tribal area, spent 2 days, 3 days, made a night halt, got an understanding of different issues. And after that was over, sometime I think in August '86 or so, then Mr. Sankaran got a meeting convened with all the collectors of the tribal welfare districts, ITDA districts, project officers ITDA on one side, all the secretaries of different departments on one side, the ministers, the chief secretary. All these historical decisions were taken in that meeting. So that guide the tribal welfare administration not only in Andhra Pradesh but also in the entire country. I think a lot of people have spoken about how cheerful Mr. Sankaran was, but you have not seen him in the review meetings. He was tough. People were scared of him. District collectors were scared of him when they knew that he was coming to the district. So kind of preparations that were made to see that Mr. Sankaran appreciates them, or at least doesn't scold them. So they were not. So it was not hunky dory. In the meetings also he would fight, but he was so full of facts, and so his way of conducting meetings is something very, very inspirational, well prepared. The homework he did was outstanding, and most important was the decisions could come after the meeting. That was even more important. He would listen to people from the field and then convert it into government decisions. When we were in the field, we had one great strength. We knew that anything done in the interest of the poor, if it is happened to violate some rules also, fine. Mr. Sankaran is there, he will change the rule or he will ensure that, we are protected. That was the great feeling we had when we were in the districts. And as also PO ITDA, Rampachodoram, in fact, I was the one who arranged the visit to Gurtedu. Because the district collector asked me to, because when Mr. Sankaran comes, we don't keep him in the guest house. We like to take him to the villages. And my predecessor, Mr. Manohar Prasad, had done some great work in Gurtedu. So he was keen, but I was equally keen that we should take him to a distant area. And all of you know what happened in Gurtedu. But I do remember, because of him, we were so confident. He told us, no, don't worry. He said, I know people in, one of his batchmates or juniors in Assam, who was kidnapped by the Naxals for 2 months or so. He said, they'll get tired of us, they will leave us. So he was trying, maybe I didn't realize, he was trying to give courage to us not to be worried. And one incident which I remember, can't forget, is the Home Ministry announced that, they'll be sending commandos to get us released. Even if you send commandos, you don't announce over the radio. So I don't think Israel announced it over the radio that you are coming to Entebbe. So the Naxals heard that and said, oh, your government wants to attack us by force to release you. We'll kill you first and then we'll die. We have no problems in dying. Then Mr. Sankaran argued with them. But before his argument, he told them that, look, I'm not married and my district collector was not married, Mr. Shastri. And he said, we are senior enough that you can get all your demands just by keeping 2 of us. You let the others go. So they did accept that bargain. Then he told them, your deadline ends tomorrow morning, so you can't kill us today. You wait till the next day. So, of course, next day the announcement came that the Chief Minister had agreed to their conditions and was releasing the people. But I can tell you the amount of education the Naxals got about communism in that 2 days, I don't think they would have got from their academy. We started with the French communes. So we also got educated along the way. When he retired, while I was in GCC, I had started one program for young professionals to live in the tribal areas. And it took me 1 year to convince him to be the chair of that society. He agreed only because he said, yes, you're trying to bring young people to tribal areas. And so he agreed. And that was the last one he actually relinquished. He was relinquishing everything around 2007, 8, 9. So he wrote me a letter with deep regret. I'm getting rid of my different obligations, etc. But Professor Hargopal, that period from 96 onwards, I saw a very different Sankaran. I was very sad also happy sometimes because he was very excited about things, but when things didn't work out, that was very, very disappointing. And, what he attempted was really the impossible. So, I think what he, at least for me, I am grateful to him that he installed a moral compass in myself. So that when I am doing things, I tend to ask, would Mr. Sankaran approve of this? So I am very grateful to him for helping me to find a purpose in my life. And being there, we always, even now, we feel that, his influence is there, guiding me, also preventing me from doing some things which I should not be doing. So that is his greatness. But something which I cherish was his kindness, his concern, and everybody has mentioned about his humaneness. Humaneness as a value in a civil servant. I think that is something very, very rare. And he's one of the people whose life is an example. He doesn't have to preach. The way he lived his life was an example for us. And for all the youngsters who want to take civil service or want to do, obviously, you choose whatever is good for you. But knowing about Sankaran will actually help you to be a good human being and do whatever you have been tasked with. Do it well. Because Mr. Sankaran was also a taskmaster. It was not as if he was just nice and goody-goody. No. He was, and that's why the people who attended his review meetings had to be fully prepared. I have seen collectors, I have seen secretaries. When it is Sankaran's review meeting, then the level of preparedness is very, very different. His meticulous, as a civil servant, his ability to get things done through the government. And that's an art. Get things done for the poor and through the government. I had one dilemma when I was going from state government to government of India. So, because a lot of people advised me, you go to a department which is a central sector, so that you don't have to depend on the states, you can do your own thing. But then Mr. Sankaran said, no. Be in rural development or welfare where you can do good, public good. So once he said that, there was no other argument. And we were all very fortunate to really be guided by Mr. Sankaran and also Mr. Yugandhar, because their friendship was a legendary friendship. They were different in styles, but the bonding, their commitment to the values of the highest order, their commitment for the poor really inspire us. I would like to thank Sri Chakrapani for bringing this, arranging this, and the LOYOLA management for this. And I do hope because I'm very happy to see so many students here. So God bless you and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Every successful event is the result of collective effort, goodwill, and guidance. To express our gratitude to all of who made this celebration possible, may I now invite Dr. M. Srinivas Reddy, Vice Principal 2nd UG, to propose the vote of thanks. So please.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, guests seated along with the students and dear student friends, a very good afternoon to you all. We are assembled here for celebrating the birthday of Sri S.R. Sankaran, a former IAS officer. చివరిలో మాట్లాడిన వారు చూశారు కదా, ఇక్కడ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్కి స్పెషల్ అడ్వైజర్. మీరు ఒక గంట అన్నం తినడం లేట్ అయితే కకావికలైపోతున్నారు మీరు. వారిని శంకరన్ గారి తోటి పాటుగా నక్సలైట్లు తీసుకెళ్ళిపోయారు. వారు ఇప్పుడు ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్కి అడ్వైజరు. ఇన్ని పుస్తకాలు మీ అందరికి ఇచ్చారా? కష్టపడి ప్రింట్ చేసి ఇంత జీవితాన్ని త్యాగం చేసే వాళ్ళ గురించి వినమంటే మీకు ఎందుకు అంత బాధ? నేను ఎక్కువసేపు ఉండను. వచ్చిన గెస్టులు వాళ్ళు చెప్పిన విషయాలని మనం మననం చేసుకుంటూ కృతజ్ఞత చెప్పాల్సిన బాధ్యత ఉంది. కనీసం ఆ కార్యక్రమానికి అందరూ సైలెంట్గా ఉండాలని మిమ్మల్ని అందరినీ ప్రార్థిస్తున్నాను. ఈరోజు మనకు ఇక్కడ ఇంతమంది ఇక్కడ శ్రీ ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ మెమోరియల్ లెక్చర్ ఆయన జన్మదిన సందర్భంగా అసెంబ్లీ అవటానికి చాలా కృషి చేసి ఇది సఫలీకృతం చేయటానికి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి వ్యక్తి శ్రీ చక్రపాణి గారు ఐఏఎస్. ఇలాంటి కళాశాలలో ఆంధ్ర రాష్ట్రం అభియుక్త ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో కొన్ని వేల కళాశాలకు వారు కమిషనర్ గారు చేశారు. వారికై వారు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి మనకి ఇది ఆర్గనైజ్ చేయటం చాలా గొప్ప విషయం సార్. వి థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. అలానే మరి కేరళ రాష్ట్రం నుంచి వచ్చారు. మీరేమో గంట అన్నం లేట్ అయితే బాధపడుతున్నారు. కేరళ రాష్ట్రం నుంచి వచ్చారు విజయానంద్ గారు. వారు ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ అంటే ఎవరో తెలుసా అసలు? ఈరోజు ఉదయం మార్నింగ్ వాక్ చేస్తూ ఉంటే ఒక ఆమె మున్సిపాలిటీ వర్కరు చెత్త ఎత్తుతూ ఉంటుంది మా రోడ్ల మీద. బండబుద్ధులు తిడుతుంది చుట్టుపక్కల వాళ్ళందరినీ. ఏమనంటే బుద్ధి లేదు ఈ ఎదవలకి. నేను ఇంటింటికి వెళ్ళి చెత్త పూజ చేసుకున్నాను కదా, మళ్ళీ రోడ్ల మీద పడేస్తున్నారేంటి? నిలబడ్డాను నేను. వాసన కొడుతుంది అది. పాపం ఆమె అలాగే చేత్తో ఎత్తుకుంటుంది. మనకేం ఎక్విప్మెంట్ లేదు. ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గారు ఏం చేశారో తెలుసా? పాకీ దొడ్లు తెలుసు కదా, ఇప్పుడు మీరంతా కూడా ప్రెస్ చేస్తే నీళ్ళు వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాయి. కాదు, మాన్యువల్గా హ్యూమన్ ఎక్స్క్రేటాన్ని తీసేయాలన్నమాట. అలా భారతదేశంలో 13 లక్షల మంది ఉన్నారంట. అటువంటి దాన్ని నిర్మూలించి చట్టపరం చేసి ఆ ఉద్యమ రూపం తీసుకొచ్చి ఒక ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్ చేసినప్పుడు 2-3 సంవత్సరాల్లో 13 లక్షల నెంబరు 3 లక్షలు దిగిపోయింది. ఆయన చేసిన కృషి అది. ఈరోజు గ్రామ గ్రామాల్లో మరి పంచాయతీ రాజ్లో రిజర్వేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆమె మాల, మాదిగ, ఎరుకుల, యానాది సర్పంచ్. అటువంటి అమెండ్మెంట్ తీసుకురావడానికి కారణం పంచాయతీ రాజులో 79 కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ అమెండ్మెంట్ శంకరన్ గారు. నందమూరి తారక రామారావు గారు మన ప్రియతమ ముఖ్యమంత్రి. అలానే పివి నరసింహరావు గారు వారితోటి అన్నారు ఇప్పుడే నరేంద్ర గారు, ఏ లీడర్ ఈజ్ వన్ వితౌట్ కాంప్రమైజింగ్ యూ మస్ట్ బీ ఇన్ ఏ పొజిషన్ టు పర్ఫార్మ్ యువర్ డ్యూటీస్ అండ్ బీ ఏ సక్సెస్ఫుల్ ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్. అటువంటి వారు. ఇంకా ఆయన ఇంటిగ్రేటెడ్ ట్రైబల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ కోసం కృషి చేశారు. ఇలా వీరి గురించి మనం విన్నాం ఈరోజు. తర్వాత నక్సలైట్లు తీసుకెళ్ళిపోయారు, వాళ్ళకే మార్క్సిజం మావోయిజం చెప్పారు వాళ్ళకి. ఇప్పుడే చెప్పారు కదా మన విజయ్ కుమార్ గారు అక్కడ జరిగిన విషయాలన్నీ. సో ఈ రోజున మనందరికీ ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గారి గురించి చెప్తూ యువతలో స్ఫూర్తినివ్వటానికి ఇక్కడ విచ్చేసినటువంటి శ్రీ విజయానంద్ గారికి, అలానే నాకు గురువు గారు కేంద్ర విశ్వవిద్యాలయంలో ఎదురుబడిన ప్రతిరోజు ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్స్ చేసుకునేవాళ్ళం. హీ వాజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ మై మెంటర్. వీ యూస్ టు ఆర్గ్యూ. ప్రొఫెసర్ జి హరగోపాల్ గారు వారు ఒక మాట అన్నారు, ది ఎంటైర్ అటెంప్ట్ ఆఫ్ అవర్స్ ఈజ్ టు హ్యూమనైజ్ ద వరల్డ్ అన్నారు. మానవత్వాన్ని పెంపొందించాలి, అదే మన కృషి. ఒక టీచర్ అయినా, ఒక అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్ అయినా, లేదా ఒక డాక్టర్ అయినా, ఇంజనీర్ ఏంటంటే మానవత్వాన్ని ఇంజనీర్ చేయొచ్చు. ఈ మాన్యువల్ స్కావెంజర్స్ చేసే పని యంత్రాలతో చేయించచ్చు, అది ఇంజనీరింగ్ టెక్నిక్ అవ్వచ్చు. డాక్టరు అనేక బాధల నుంచి నివారించవచ్చు అనమాట. సో ఆ విధంగా హరగోపాల్ గారు వారు 4 డెకేడ్స్ కేంద్ర విశ్వవిద్యాలయంలో నాలాగా కొన్ని వేల మందిని తయారు చేసి సమాజంలో వాళ్ళ భావాలను ప్రచారం చేయడానికి, సమాజానికి కృషి చేయడానికి వారు అహర్నిశలో పనిచేశారు. ఈ రోజున వారు రావటం మాకు చాలా ఆనందం అండి. హరగోపాల్ గారు థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. సో అలానే ఈరోజు మన మధ్యన ఒక పిహెచ్డి చేశారు ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ గురించి సౌజన్య గారు. శంకరన్ గారు ప్రజల హృదయాల్లో ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నారో మనకు తెలుసు. మనం చూస్తుంటాము, మన లైలా కాలేజీ పూర్వ విద్యార్థి మన ఆనం బ్రదర్స్ వాళ్ళు చెప్పారంటే నెల్లూరులో పలానా చూడకపోతే చెప్తారని. ఎలా ప్రజల హృదయాల్లో శంకరన్ గారు ఇంకా ఉన్నారు అనేది వారి పరిశోధనలో వారు ఎంత సింపుల్ నిరాడంబరంగా మానవత్వంగా జీవించారో వారి పరిశోధన ద్వారా తెలియపరిచారు. వారికి చాలా ధన్యవాదాలండి. ఎన్ఐఆర్డి అంటే నేషనల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ రూరల్ డెవలప్మెంట్. అసలు అక్కడికి వెళ్ళాలంటే మేము ఊరుతుండేవాళ్ళం కేంద్ర విశ్వవిద్యాలయంలో నేను చదివే రోజుల్లో. వారు అన్నారు 5 రకాల లీడర్షిప్స్ గురించి చెప్పారు. చివరిగా సర్వెంట్ లీడర్షిప్ మోడల్ గురించి చెప్పారు. అలా ఉండేవారు శంకరన్ అని చెప్పారు. ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ రాజీ పడకుండా, కాంప్రమైజ్ కాకుండా సక్సెస్ఫుల్గా ఎలా ఉన్నాడు శంకరన్ గారు అనే విషయాన్ని వారు తెలియపరిచారు. ఇంకనూ మనకి అనేక విషయాలను తెలియపరిచినటువంటి పెద్దలు వారందరికీ కూడా కృతజ్ఞత తెలుపుకుంటూ ఈ అవకాశం ఇచ్చినటువంటి లయోలా కాలేజీ యాజమాన్యము మరియు ఎస్ఆర్ శంకరన్ మెమోరియల్ ట్రస్ట్ వారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇప్పుడు మన ముందు మీతో పాటుగా మీరు విద్యార్థులు మీతో పాటుగా మనకు పూర్వ డీజీపీ గారు ఉన్నారు, డైరెక్టర్ జనరల్ ఆఫ్ పోలీస్ మాలకొండయ్య గారు కూర్చున్నారు. ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. అలానే మనకి మరి శ్రీ మల్లికార్జున్ గారు ఉన్నారు ఫారెస్ట్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ నుంచి, వారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. మరి పాతూరు నాగభూషణం గ్రంథాలయం నుంచి ప్రొఫౌండరు నాగభూషణం గారి కుమార్తె డాక్టర్ రావిశారద గారు, అలానే మనకి బాలలత మేడం గారు ఐఏఎస్ కోచింగ్ అకాడమీ, వారు ఐఏఎస్ఏ వారు ఉన్నారు. శ్రీ ప్రొఫెసర్ లక్ష్మణ్ రెడ్డి గారు జన విజ్ఞాన వేదిక, రోజుకి ఇలాంటి సభలు 5 జరుపుతారు వారు గుంటూరులో. నన్ను రోజు పిలుస్తారు, నేను రోజు వెళ్ళను, అయినా రోజు పిలుస్తారు. ధన్యవాదాలు సార్, మీరు వచ్చి ప్రజల్ని చైతన్యపరిచే మీ ఆర్గనైజేషను అయినా ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి మాతోటి మీరు కలిపినందుకు. అలానే స్కిల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ నుంచి సాయిబాబా గారు బాపట్లో రిటైర్డ్ లెక్చరర్ గారు గత 20 రోజుల నుంచి నాకు ఈ సభ ఎలా జరపాలని చెప్తున్నారు. అక్కడ నేను వారి దగ్గరికి కూడా వెళ్ళొచ్చాను. వారితో పాటు వచ్చినటువంటి వారి మిత్రుడు శేషగిరిరావు గారు, పిసి శేషి గారు, మన చక్రపాణి గారి స్నేహితులు, వారికి ధన్యవాదాలండి. అలానే బత్తుల కోటేశ్వరరావు గారు గుంటూరు నుంచి వచ్చారు. వీరందరూ చాలా శ్రమకోర్చి మా కళాశాలలో ఈ విధమైనటువంటి కార్యక్రమాన్ని నిర్వర్తించడానికి మాకందరికీ స్ఫూర్తిదాయకంగా నిలిచి ఈ రోజున మాకు చాలా గొప్ప దినముగా చరిత్ర గుర్తుండేట్టుగా చేశారు. మీ అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలండి. విద్యార్థులకు ముఖ్యంగా ఇంత సమయం అయినప్పటికి కూడా కూర్చొని వింటున్నందుకు కొంచెం గొడవ చేశారులే, అయినా సరే మా వైస్ ప్రిన్సిపల్ గారు ఏమన్నారు, అందరికీ కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇంకొక పేరు మర్చిపోతున్నాను, వెంకటేశ్వరరావు గారు, వారు డమ్ అండ్ డఫ్ స్కూల్ నడుపుతా వారికి ఇన్ఛార్జి, వారికి కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇంతటితో ఈ సభ ముగిసిందని తెలియపరుచుకుంటున్నాను. ధన్యవాదాలు. అసలు విషయం మర్చిపోయాను, వైటి ప్రభు గారు చాలా కృషి చేసి ఇంతమంది ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్ని, ఇంతమంది ఆంధ్ర రాష్ట్రంలో చుట్టుపక్కల మన అనేక ప్రజా సంఘాల నుంచి వచ్చినటువంటి వారికి మా గురువుగారు ఎస్పి రామరాజు గారు ఉన్నారు. వారు నాకు ఈ విధంగా మాట్లాడటానికి వారే నా ట్రైనింగ్ లయోలా కళాశాలలో నేను స్టూడెంట్ని, వారు మా పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ అధ్యాపకులు, వారికి కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు.
మల్లికార్జునరావు చెప్పారా ప్రభుత్వ
Thank you, sir. And as we conclude this memorable celebration of the life and legacy of Sri S.R. Sankaran Garu, let us all raise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you.
I request all the guests to join us for lunch. I request all the guests kindly join us for lunch.